Hi everyone, welcome back to Law School Gems with Bria. My name is Bria Riley and I'm the founder of Law School Gems, and today we are getting into part 2 of internships and jobs for law students. So if you are a law student, specifically a first semester law student, be sure to tune into this very important topic because today we're going to be talking about application materials, gathering those materials, and the follow-up in order to help you land that job.
We are born to win. Come and learn the basics with Law School Gems.
I also want to be sure to affirm you today. You are powerful. You are great. Greatness lies within you. All of that potential energy is dying to be converted into kinetic energy, and it all is dependent on you. Only you dictate your fate, and what will be for you is for you. No one else can dictate that, and that goes for these internships and these jobs. And do not let others disqualify you, or do not get in your own head and disqualify yourself. You miss 100% of the shots that you do not take. So make sure you take them all and you let the employer or the entity or the company or organization you are applying for disqualify you, but you don't cut yourself out of the game because that's how you already lose before you've even tried to play. So once you've narrowed the list for internships and job applications of potential employers you would like to apply to, you want to start gathering those materials. And in order to get a feel for what those materials might consist of, be sure to check out episodes 18 through 20 where we talked about transfer applications and the materials that would likely comprise those, because the same materials will apply here, except those materials will be in a internship or job context. So make sure you start gathering those same materials and make sure you give yourself ample amount of time in order to gather them, because some things take longer than others in order to put together. For instance, a personal statement or a writing sample or letters of recommendation, making sure you're giving your recommenders enough time in order to submit letters of recommendation on your behalf. And then also transcripts, right? So some potential employers, specifically if you were applying for summer of 2023, in order for them to weed out competition, they want to know the grades of the candidates that they are going to be interviewing with. And so in order to do that, they're going to require or ask for a transcript. Some of them will require that that transcript be an official transcript, meaning that it's sealed. It's sealed and it gets sent directly to the employer or the organization or company in which you are applying. And sometimes they'll ask for an unofficial transcript, meaning you can just go download that off of your law school's website or your student portal and then submit that internally as a part of your overall application. But remember, you have to have the grades first in order to submit them. So sometimes those grades have to come after the application deadline, and you have to be cognizant of that. And don't forget to go back in and upload your grades once you actually do have them. So all of those things are important to the job application process, making sure you're following instructions and that you're adhering to them and you're submitting all the materials necessary so you can be a holistic candidate for your application profile to whatever internship or job in which you are applying. Also remember that you are catering each of your application materials to the specific employer, right? I like to look at this as buckets, is how I describe it to my mentees. For those of you who may want to apply to both litigation and transactional roles because you really don't know what you want to do, right? So you might have a cover letter or a writing sample or a personal statement that's really geared toward litigation-based activity or employers, and that's great. And you may even carve that out and create different carve-outs for private sector versus public sector, and that's great as well. And what that does is it increases in efficiency because then you're able to recycle some of those materials and you're not having to create new materials for every single application you submit, because that can get lengthy and time consuming, and we know that time is a huge valuable asset in a law student's life, and you don't have a lot of it, right? So you got to work smarter, not harder. But at the same time, there are those opportunities that are so unique, so special, where you can't just do a cookie cutter, copy paste personal statement or cover letter or whatever the case may be, because it's not going to help you stand apart and it's not going to address the prompt that's being put before you by the employer in which you are applying. So for those special, unique opportunities where you can't just do the cookie cutter situation, or you really want to stand out because it is a very competitive position, you want to make sure that you are crafting your application materials to the job application in which you are applying. Now, what does that mean? It means that, for instance, on your resume, you're going to use buzzwords, right? Buzzwords that you see highlighted over and over in the job description. Those are buzzwords that you want to use as your skill set under your responsibilities and your experience on your resume. For your personal statement, you want your personal statement to be crafted to the job or the job responsibilities that you will be pursuing in that role, so they know that you can do it, that you have the experience, or at least you have the interest and the passion for it to be able to handle the job, even with no experience, because you're that interested and that willing to take on a new challenge, right? And then your writing sample, especially like for a litigation-based role, right? You really got to show that you're an analytical thinker. You want a really meaty piece of an issue to analyze and to get to the bottom of and to conclude, and you want to show that to the employer. Even with a transactional situation and contract-based, right? Like if you're going to be helping to draft contracts, some of which may be multi-million-dollar deals, you want to make sure that you show them you know how to write, you know how to think, you know how to analyze, you know how to draft, and you know how to read an agreement and catch errors and catch mistakes, and that you're putting your best foot forward when it comes to those application materials. It also helps if you reach out to your connections on LinkedIn or in other areas for the potential jobs in which you are applying, right? Let's just take a firm and we're going to call it Bickle. Okay, so if you know you want to apply to Bickle and you've already submitted your job application, or maybe you're about to get ready to do so, you're going to want to go find connections of any lawyers or any people you know who work at Bickle. And then you're going to want to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm considering applying for this opportunity. Can I get some insight from you? Can I pick your brain? Can I figure out what your experience has been at this place? What has it been like for you? What's the good? What's the bad? So you can get a holistic picture of if this is where you want to work. Is this a place you want to work? Because when you were interviewing and when you were applying for jobs, you were interviewing the employer just as much as they are interviewing you, because it has to be a good reciprocal fit for both sides. It has to be a mutual benefit and of mutual interest to both parties. It cannot be one-sided. So you want to make sure that you're reaching out to people that you know to, number one, give them notice that you're applying, so maybe they could put in a good word for you. And then number two, so they can look out for similar opportunities, even if you don't get that one or they're unable to put in a good word for you for that one, they at least are on notice that that is a role that you are interested in, so they may be able to slide other similar opportunities your way. And then number three, it gives you insight, invaluable insight that you can't just pick up from a job description or a job posting online, right? They're going to give you the nuts and the bolts and the detailed information about a specific employer. But you have to be careful. You have to use your gift of discernment that we've talked about throughout this whole season of Law School Gems, because everyone is not going to be for you. And you really want to make sure that the people that you have speaking on your behalf, or the people who are giving you insight, have your best interests at heart, so that way they aren't giving you half-assed information, that they're giving you correct information, that they aren't trying to lead you astray, that they're not trying to put out that you are applying for this role, especially if you want that to be proprietary or something that stays confidential, right? And they may not be in the best position to be recommending you for anything. Maybe they're on the chopping block with their employer, and that's not the person you want vouching for you, because you're likely not going to get that job if that person is already in the hot seat and not doing so well. So you got to make sure that you develop good connections and connections that you trust using your gift of discernment when trying to apply for a role or get your foot into the door for those particular job opportunities. Things you may ask those connections about include company culture, what their experience and what their background has been working there, the good, the bad, the challenges, what they foresee happening in the future. Maybe they can also give you insight into the interviewing panel if they know who the interviewers will likely be for you if you were to advance to the interview stage, so they can give you some insight into who they are and kind of give you some knowledge on how to prepare for those interviews with those people. They may also be able to tell you about what you can expect throughout the candidacy process, which is also invaluable, so that way you're not left guessing, which can really create anxiety for those of you who are trying to land that dream job or opportunity as quickly as possible, so you can tuck that task to bed and then you can get on to advancing into your second semester and beyond. And be sure to ask questions that give you a competitive edge, right? Information that you want to know that's going to set you apart from the rest, that is not going to be readily available or easy to find online or in other places. So that way it really shows the interviewer panel, once you get to that stage, that you've really done your research, you've talked to people, you've dug deep, and you're showing a really true and valuable interest in this place, this organization, which sets you apart and gives you that competitive advantage over your counterparts when applying for certain roles. And then lastly, be sure to follow up with your employer. So after you submit that job application and it has all your materials in it that we have discussed in prior videos, and then now make sure that you follow up with that employer or the recruiter or the human resources manager or the hiring partner for that particular organization to let them know like, hey, I've applied. Hey, I'm still interested. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on. Just thought that it might be relevant to you so you can kind of get more background on me. Please let me know if there's additional materials I can provide or if I can supplement my application. I'm available to interview on these times and these dates. Please let me know if I can be of service or if you have any other concerns or questions. I would love to talk to you and maybe have a preliminary conversation so I can get to know you and you can get to know me. And that's how you begin to build rapport and really show that employer that vested interest, right? So like for instance, with me, I talked about my clerkship that I got for the Northern District, right? I interviewed for that clerkship in December of my 3L year. And I didn't get hired until March. I had to wait 3 months before my judge made a hiring decision. And during that process, I kept in contact with my judge. I still do because I love my judge. But I kept in contact with my judge because I wanted him to know what I was doing and that I was showing a vested interest and that I was still interested in the role and I was going to take it because my judge was interviewing for a role in Texas. I was still a Chicago law student. So he had to have faith and trust and believe that I was actually going to come to Texas if he offered me that opportunity, right? And so I had to show him that I had a real vested interest in working in Texas, even though I had no background of any legal experience in Texas before. All of my jobs up until that point had been in Chicago and in Illinois. Right? So that was very different. And he had to kind of take out a leap on faith, right? And take a chance on me. But I wanted him to know what I was working on, how it was relevant. I was at the ABA conference. I served as a student liaison. Like, hope you're doing well. You know, how's your family? And doing those things built rapport. It established a good connection and relationship with him where he felt like he could trust me and extended me the job opportunity ultimately. And it was because of the follow-up and the follow-through. So thank you guys so much for being here. That is all that I have for you today. I'm excited that you're here with me. I know that you can be anywhere else in the world where you are choosing to be here today. Also, subscribe to this channel because it really helps me to grow it. But more than that, it gives you alerts and notice of when I post new content because you don't want to miss these gems. Also, like and share this video with anyone you know who you think could benefit from it, specifically if they're a first semester law student or if there's someone considering law school or someone who may be further along through their law school career and just looking for some additional tips and tricks and gems along the way to help supplement their law school career. I am more than happy to help, and thank you for watching all the way to the end because that also helps me grow this channel. And until next time, I will see you all again. Bye, y'all.